And we gave some of that power to the executive branch. And I think in hindsight, that was a mistake.
A divide is growing amongst the Republicans around these tariffs as more and more of them come out and publicly say that they are no longer for the tariff. Convenient, considering how quiet they were before Trump went full throttle on the tariffs, but Rand Paul came out against them, Cancun Cruz, and now Don Bacon from Nebraska. But he's taking it a bit further as he's introducing legislation that would strip Trump of his ability to impose tariffs. It looks like Congress is finally starting to wake up and realize that they're the ones who are supposed to have power of the purse, including what kind of taxes are placed on US citizens, and tariffs are just a consumption tax that Trump is trying to put a new face on. We'll take a look at how Trump is using and abusing his powers to declare national emergency, and how Congress is trying to wrangle in the beast now that they've let it out of the cage. If you're enjoying the coverage here, make sure to like the video and double check that you're subscribed. For every sub, we'll light one fire under the ass of a Republican congressman. The bravado that Trump uses tends to make Americans forget that he's not supposed to be doing like half the shit that he tries, including imposing these tariffs. Here's a reminder from this user, Stealthy Geek, that the president has no inherent constitutional power to declare tariffs. That power resides in Congress. Trump only has this power now because the GOP Congress has handed it to him in an emergency. There is no emergency. Republicans are entirely to blame for this. And that's definitely important to point out. Trump declared a national emergency in order to, quote, increase our competitive edge, protect our sovereignty, and strengthen our national and economic security. I don't know about you guys, but an incoming recession definitely seems like the opposite of economic security. Trump is invoking his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. Now, that's a big issue because the IEEPA wasn't made for Trump just to declare an emergency, and it also doesn't give Trump the power to impose a tariff. Here's a quote from Lisa Goitein, Senior Director of the Liberty and National Security Program at the Brennan Center for Justice. IEEPA has a long list of things that the president can do, and nowhere does it say tariffs. There is absolutely a basis for which to challenge the use of IEEPA for tariffs based on the Supreme Court's own jurisprudence. There is some likelihood of success on this lawsuit on that grounds. John Vecchione, a lawyer for NCLA, said it's not what it's for. He can embargo our enemies, he can cut off their banking, he can do a lot under IEEPA, but tariffs are not on it. And the things that are in it are horrifying. If Trump's quote-unquote economic emergency stands, here's a short list of some of the things that he may be able to do. Deploy the military domestically, suspend labor laws, freeze finances, expand warrantless searches, control domestic radio, social media, and broadcast networks. As this poster, Melanie DeRigo, points out, it's not just about the tariffs. Trump is attempting to fundamentally reshape the government. Who's to stop the current or future president from declaring an economic emergency whenever they want these additional powers? Who's to say that this current emergency is ever going to stop? If they wait long enough, given how short the public's memory is, people might say that the president has always had these powers, at which point things are absolutely never going back. And now Congress is waking up to try to claw back some of these powers before they lose them forever. Here's Representative Don Bacon on Face the Nation explaining the legislation that he just introduced.
I know you are introducing companion legislation to what Senator Cantwell just laid out for us. But as I understand it, in the House, Republican leaders have already restricted the ability to rein in changes to the Mexico, Canada, and China tariffs. They tucked language into the continuing resolution. Does that get in your way when you are trying to now claw back some congressional control of tariffs?
Well, first of all, good morning, Margaret. Thanks for having me on. And I enjoyed listening to Senator Cantwell. I support the legislation that Senator Grassley, Senator Cantwell, we have a total of 7 Republicans in the Senate. And I have some beginning support on the House side, which we'll unveil tomorrow. It will be harder to pass this in the House, no doubt. I think if we get 60 votes in the Senate, they'll put pressure on the House to look at this. And if we continue to see the stock market go a certain direction, or if we see inflation or unemployment shift in a bad way, I think then this bill becomes a very viable bill. So it will not pass tomorrow or maybe in the next couple of weeks, but this will be in the queue that we can use. And it's time that Congress restores its authorities here. In the Constitution, it's clear. The House and the Senate, Congress has the power of tariffs and taxes. And we gave some of that power to the executive branch. And I think In hindsight, that was a mistake.
Of course, it's easy to say it was a mistake now after two of the worst consecutive days Wall Street has ever seen, and Monday is already being called Black Monday 2.0 as more sell-offs are expected to come. It seems like this game of will he, won't he that Trump has been playing with the tariffs has finally ended. He already said that he's not looking at the stock market, and it's not exactly reassuring when he said this today.
You know, I was elected on this. This was one of the biggest reasons I got elected, was exactly because of this. And we're going to put tariffs, we've already put them on. It's not a question of we will. We're going to put them on. And those tariffs next year will make us $1 trillion. We will be taking in over $1 trillion over the next short period of time with the tariffs that I've already instituted. They're already in place. Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. And eventually, it'll be a country like no other. It'll be the most dominant country economically in the world.
Now, I don't know where Trump got this idea that these tariffs would somehow eventually build the strongest economy in the world, but it definitely wasn't the business school that he went to, Wharton. Here's a finance professor, Jeremy Siegel, who teaches at Trump's old school, explaining why Trump's tariffs are the biggest policy mistake in 95 years.
I think this is the biggest policy mistake in 95 years. And what is interesting is on the Republican Senate's website. So if you go to senate.gov and look up tariffs, this is what they say. It was on June 13th, 1930, that the Senate passed the Smoot-Hawley tariff, describing it as among the most catastrophic acts in congressional history. Now, this is the Republican-controlled U.S. Senate. And it said, despite the fact that 1,000 economists wrote a letter to Hoover saying, veto it, he did not veto it. And then it goes on saying the results were, and to use their words, disastrous. So disastrous that the American public voted the Republicans out of the House, the Senate, and the presidency 2 years later. Now, to be fair, the Fed screwed up badly afterwards as the economy sunk as a result of this. And they're not going to do that again because they've learned that lesson. I don't know why Trump didn't learn the lesson of the Smoot-Hawley tariff, because I know the Fed learned the lesson of its mistakes in 1930, 31, and 32. That's one reason why the great financial crisis did not turn into a Great Depression. We flooded the banks with liquidity, which we did not do 95 years ago. But very honestly, I mean, they say it all. I wouldn't be surprised if President Trump scrubs this passage out of the website, because this is on the Senate Republican website.
Now, as much as Trump brags about going to Wharton,
I went to the Wharton School of Finance.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I was a very fine student.
it looks like it might be time for him to go back to school and learn a thing or two about finance. He may want to brush up on what he learned there. Maybe one of his aides can show him flashcards in between drives. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.